Welcome to the Champ We Are United podcast, the number one football comic-based podcast, bringing to life the United verse from the wonderful Champ comic, whilst we also delve into the world of Roy the Rovers, and we never forget those other comic football characters like Twisty, Kid Cox, John Stark, Cannon, the goals of Jimmy Grant, and so many more. I'm your host, Paul Tangent Richardson, the tangential one, and this is episode 102.
Whoa, 102.
You can hear them in the background. Let me introduce you to my fellow team members here in the studio this episode. They say he's from a bygone age when gangsters were real and often granddads. We, though, are often left wondering if his boots are magical. It is, of course, none other than Neil Bygone Grandad Gangster Brinsden Berrigan.
What, everybody? Is everyone okay?
Yes, we're absolutely fine. We're absolutely fine. Yeah, nothing's wrong.
Good. You okay, everyone? Hope you enjoy the show. I'm looking forward to see who shot Roy Race. Something I would agree with.
Spoilers. Next up, I'm pleased to inform you that he has managed to get the ball away from the corner flag and has sorted his Wi-Fi out, and the lines to the mill are fully working, which means we are sure to be treated to some fantastic analysis, as always, from the voice of reason, Simo.
You've got to put the kiss of death on it now, haven't you, Paul? You really have.
Well, I was nervous when we were doing the pre-show chat and it got mentioned. I thought, oh, there goes my intro.
Well,
but
we're holding up so far, but it could go quiet at this end very soon. It's it's good to be back. It's good to have you back in the hot seat, and we've got some special stuff coming up tonight. So strap in, guys.
Brilliant stuff. Right, next up is our Roy the Rovers aficionado. He has taken us through annuals, told us how many times Roy has donned the goalkeeper's jersey, and brought us several characters' football comic book lives alive. The glue keeping this pod together, it is Mute Button Matt.
Well, hello there, Paul. Hello. Oh, sorry. Tangential one. Damn.
Yes,
you did tell me. Yeah, sorry. You're set Grandad Berrigan on
now,
me right now.
Now you're talking.
Good to be here.
And good. Completing the lineup, the will he won't he saga. I can finally reveal it's over. We are not sure what this means for Alex Hedgehog Jones, but it gives me great pleasure to announce the much anticipated return of Luscious Locks Ridders.
Thanks, tangential one. That's some intro. Even your intros go off on a tangent. That's fantastic. Very happy to be back again. And we've got some good stuff lined up. Hello, everybody.
Great, all will be reviewed. Well, before we move on to what we've got lined up for you, I'm sure you'll have figured out we are not quite a full squad tonight in Podland, as our founding member Gull is not with us. There was some controversy regarding how many sugars Dot put in everyone's brew in the last episode. Unfortunately, the dispute is taking a little longer than anticipated, but we are sure the golden couple of the pod will sort it out, and we look forward to the return of Gull and Dot in episode 103.
Bell and Dot, are they like Bex
well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the way they've fallen out over Sugargate, I'm beginning to wonder, to be quite honest, but we shall see.
Sugargate.
Right, so what have we got for all you listeners for episode 102? So our running order tonight is the usual social media feedback, otherwise known as Melvin's Musings. Then we've got a very interesting one. He's back with a feature. We are back, a United story. All will be revealed by readers on that one. We've got part 2 of Who Shot Roy Race by Matt. And then Billy's Boots 1985 Tiger Holiday Special is going to be brought to us by Neil. And then, of course, we will do the social media and have a little chin wag and let you know how you can get in touch with us and may even say our goodbyes. So, moving at a brisk pace, as I like to do. Matt, would you like to bring us the feedback?
Blimey, this
and Melvin's Musings, of course.
This has got to be the quickest thing we've ever got to the feedback, isn't it?
Yeah, apologies. I'd stun everybody with my intros. Everybody's
ready.
Hello.
Clearly, Paul's negotiated a piecework contract rather than hourly.
Oh, topical there. So right. There's no theme tune, I'm afraid, unless we've lined up the recorders. But I believe we're in the new studio for episode 102. So
yeah, well, I might insert it. Shall we do that? I might insert it, and then we'll see.
Don't bring up sugar.
Where's the new matron when you need one?
I knew the voice of reason was going to say something.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So social media feedback. Right. So first of all, we start with Boy the Rovers 40 years on. So see, this is following the last episode 101, where we did part 1 of when Roy got shot. So we have Chris Peacock saying he got shot in the hair, because you can see that actually behind me you can see it almost
the graze.
Maybe a graze, and so he probably got stuck in his mullet somewhere. The bullet, who knows? Ron Hudson, so Ron actually said he thought it was a dreadful storyline.
Yeah, I
he
read
said,
that. Interesting.
Was the comic losing sales by then to come up with the story? And I mean, a couple of people went back to him. I'm pretty sure it wasn't losing sales. I think they just did it, as we know, just as a kind of they did the whole Who Shot JR, so copying what they did there. Obviously, ultimately, it's all to kind of generate sales, isn't it? Really, but I don't think
completely. Of course,
the real slump had kind of set in then. But Thomas Hunter replied back to Ron, and he thought it was a good storyline, tied in with the stories on TV at the time. I believe the storyline had the opposite effect and boosted interest and sales. And George Prince, friend of the show,
yes,
US friend of the show, said, I only read it last year, but I love the whodunit aspect, based on the massive Who Shot JR storyline from Dallas Soap, which was beyond massive at the time. They should have had
first then, you Button. Who got shot first?
It was JR. Yeah,
JR definitely.
That was that was 1980.
A year earlier, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it was the same person. We'll find out.
Well, spoiler alert, surely. A dream sequence again?
No shower scenes, please.
Not on this pod.
People thinking, I'm not going on YouTube. George
Don't worry,
Prince,
if that happens, there will be a warning on YouTube, but I can assure you that will not be happening.
Oh dear, there's no Zoom as well, so that won't help any of us. So George said they should have had car stickers and songs saying Who Shot Roy Race, because there were car stickers Who Shot JR and songs out at the time. It was massive. Terry Angus actually said he's got a badge with that on it, because I think there were some badges the comic did.
There were some badges,
Who Shot Roy Race. So thanks, Terry. Anthony Harper said, did Melchester ever have an away or third kit? And yeah, they did. I went back to him, and so did Ian, actually, Ian Golden. They used to play in blue, and there's the all white kit, and then there's used to play in yellow as well. Yeah.
They had the reverse of the home kit, didn't they, for a while? The exact opposite to the one you're wearing, red. The colours inverted. I'm sure they did at some point. Yeah, yellow shirt. Didn't they have the yellow shirt with the red stripe at one point?
Don't remember the red stripe on it.
Maybe, I don't know.
I know some kit manufacturers have actually produced that. But
maybe that's where I'm seeing it then. I might have got a bit confused with that then.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do remember an all yellow strip. I don't remember the reverse.
Definitely all yellow. Definitely, well, maybe yellow, red. No, I think it's just all yellow.
Sorry, just quickly, my favourite second kit for Rovers though was the one in the FA Cup semi-final against Western Villa, which was white tops and red shorts, and white socks with a red and band around them. That was a great kit.
That. Gosh, okay.
Embedded in my memory, that one.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
There's always one person.
Tangential one is a right mouthful.
Loving it. I don't know about the rest of you, but I'm loving it. I can live with it for the rest of my life. I must admit, people at work have got a bit bored with me saying, "Excuse me, it's not Paul, it's the tangential one."
And when you put it on your email signature as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, the Melfster. After all, this is the Melfster section. The Melfster. Here we go. Episode 101 holds no fears for Champ We Are United Centurions. Any concerns that episode 101 would be a case of after the Lord Mayor's show proved wide of the mark. The Champ We Are United team showed no signs of fatigue after their victorious ton-up celebrations and went manfully on the attack straight from the kickoff. During the first half, Simo, aka the voice of reason, delighted fans with the latest instalment of his We Are United magnum opus. It's a football comic picture story feature with legs and is most definitely this muser's cup of tea.
Yeah, very good. Clever. See what he's done there?
Yeah.
And Simo, you will be back, won't you, in a future episode doing the next instalment of that?
Yeah, I just thought that the 2 features of On We Are United in one episode might be a bit overkill. So
yeah,
okay,
save that for another episode when we haven't got a feature on United.
Cool. Here we go. The halftime team talk brought news of some exciting transfer negotiations. Goal candidly reveals why he took advice from the football comic magnate Tangent Paul. He's now a football comic magnate. Jesus Christ.
Well,
you have to get bigger Zoom screens to fit your head
15 different nicknames with Grandad and Gangster and Brinsdean and everything.
Yeah, you're
Why can't I have
you're
a few?
tangential one, aren't you? He's called a Grandad. I mean,
yeah, but aren't magnets appealing?
Oh yeah, true. That's true.
Depends which way you put them round.
True.
Ooh, no,
I reckon maybe
sorry. Okay.
Was Magnet maybe not a spell check kicking in or something?
Yeah. And before he went ahead with the major 2000 AD deal during the January window, Bygone Berrigan also talks exclusively about his successful bid for a copy of the Tiger Holiday Special 1984. The second half saw Mute Button Matt enter the fray and begin to forensically examine one of the most famous storylines in football comic history, when Roy Race was shot. Just like Chief Inspector Manning, who investigated the case, Mute Button Matt established the events running up to the now infamous shooting, whilst identifying the prime suspects too. The Mutester. Even employs.
Hold on a second. You've got.
Yeah,
Proud to mention that I've got.
Even employs his fashion police skills, questioning the relevance of some well-tailored green suits worn by the victim and his potential assassins. The drama-filled feature will be concluded during the next episode, presumably in the Champ Towers library. I, for one, cannot wait to tune in for the Whodunit section. In other news, Ridders is set to make a triumphant return to the All-Star podcast lineup in episode 102 with an exciting new feature. Meanwhile, a reliable source from Inside Champ Towers, brackets Simo, has suggested that Tangent Paul was missing from this week's squad because BBC bigwigs have been attempting to lure him in his motty sheepskin coat, said to be known as McMutton, into joining next season's New Look Match of the Day team. It's thought that the tangential one's commentary of the Manchester Rovers 1984-85 Cup Winners' Cup final match with Spain's Real Santana has impressed Auntie's hotshot decision makers. Watch this space. Keep it real, lads. Do you remember Keep It Real? Simo last time. Keep it real. Keep it real.
That was the brain fart. That I just couldn't think of anything to say. It just came out.
That's staying in, eh? And he finishes with, did he? It actually. He says something here. Apparently, Commando, there was 4 stories a month, 2 news stories, and 2 reprints.
I tell you, well, that's really interesting to hear, actually, because that's the first I've heard that.
Somebody else would have mentioned that.
Seriously, I would have thought you guys should have covered that in the last pod. To be
it's
quite
disappointing. If only you were
here.
Commando
do a monthly release. They come out. Are they still publishing?
Anyway, carrying on. The Champ We Are United Facebook page. Gary Norton, friend of the show, said, "What a great way to start the week." Thank you very much, Gary. Ian Golden, friend of the show, due to be coming on very, very soon.
Yes,
very soon.
Yeah. More news on that later.
Yeah, he says, "Thanks for uploading to YouTube quickly too. Good to hear there were episodes of The Striker on YouTube, because I mentioned about the Striker TV show. And he's going to watch those." And he said, "Yeah, his United timeline is ready." So so hopefully he'll be coming on soon.
Good stuff.
And yeah, he just, because we're talking about the Champ We Are United, because he said the artist's a bit different. He said it all looks like Peter Foster's artwork. It's just that the first frame was definitely different, wasn't it? But he said that Foster was good and he did divert at times. So thank you. And John Evans, another friend of the show, obviously, said, "Another class act from a class podcast. Thank you again, chaps." Thank you, John. Mighty World of British Comics. We had a comment from George Prince again, friend of the show. Oh, this is interesting. He says Commando, there were 2 new ones and 2 reprints, I think. He says, what does everybody else think?
I find that hard to believe that. I'm not.
I've never heard that.
You guys are just deliberately trying to be controversial, personally. I don't believe that.
It's a Mandela moment, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Not true.
What I don't get is that it's never been mentioned before.
Yeah.
Surely,
well, maybe we should do a special show on it, just talking about that.
101 episodes, and we've never mentioned this.
So what is it? Is it some kind of armed forces comic?
Oh, there's Bygone on the ball as ever.
I think, of course, Grandad was in the war, wasn't he? So he's pretty appeared.
Still getting over the shell shocks. He hasn't
like
got
that
round
Red
to
Dwarf
reading
episode.
Commando.
This a white hole, and they just keep going on and on.
YouTube, finally, getting towards the end of this. Mark Wincup said, really enjoyed your reminiscing about Roy's shooting. I do have the back issues, but putting it all together really brought back waiting for the comics to come through the letterbox. Yeah, so he's looking forward to part 2. So hopefully you enjoy that, Mark. Thank you. Nikos, our Greek friend, said another great production. Thank you very much, Nikos. And finally, Ozzy Lee said, forget who shot JR, friend of the show, or even who killed Laura Palmer. I'll see if Goal was here for that. He would have loved that.
That's it. Beyond that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Who Shot Roy Race was the biggest mystery of my childhood reading, and maybe even in comic book history. It's great to see you doing a deep dive into this dark episode of Roy's life, setting up all the suspects and finishing on a now biting cliffhanger for what comes next. Great job bringing this storyline back, Matt, and even managing an Aussie accent for the devious Arnie Mekif. Well, it's Aussie-ish, wasn't it, really? I might have another go tonight.
Do you know what? I think we'll leave it there and see how you get on tonight. Yeah.
Let me know if you need any help mastering the Antipodean dialect. I think we know the answer to that.
I'll be honest with you, Ozzy Lee. I think we could do with some coaching. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can go over and do a show there.
Yeah. And I can't believe Gold missed an opportunity with Kenny Logan to break out some Kenny Loggins. Roy went to the danger zone. See, again, he would love that.
Fancy Free and Footloose.
Fancy Free and Footloose, yeah, brilliant. So that's it. That's all the social media feedback. Oh, tangential one.
Fantastic. I don't know if sorry, this doesn't work for the listeners, but we did mention this away kit, so I'm just going to try and share it on my screen. Hopefully I get the right one. Can you guys see that? So this is edition 28th of April 1984 of Roy the Rovers, and on the cover it's the FA Cup semi-final.
Right, yes.
And we see Roy's having a shot on goal, hits the crossbar, but it's a white top, red shorts, and I don't know why it's the socks. It's one of the first times I've seen that, with a red and a blue hoop around the top and around the ankle as well. So yeah,
that's nice. That's very modish, isn't it? With the
yes, it is.
Yeah, with the red and blue. Yeah. It looks a bit modish. Yeah, cool.
Blackie Gray looks like he's painting a vest.
Yeah,
do you not think the
coolness personified?
It's a colour issue because the pitch is white on the third thing.
Yeah, that's
no. It just started snowing.
Right.
Actually, do you know what, Bygone? I've got to say, I've never even noticed that. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, you're right. Actually, they forgot to colour in the old the background as they're heading off for half time.
Can we make a note? I'm going to send one of Barry's letters to David Skew.
Yeah, well, actually, it's got a very big running track.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is a semi-final. I can't remember where it was taking place actually, but yeah.
With that much of a gap, it must have been the old Stamford Bridge.
Yeah. Just Molyneux was like that as well, wasn't it?
Was it? I don't know.
Right. Anyway. So I just thought I'd share that. For those of you that do venture onto our YouTube channel, hopefully you'll be able to see that strip. Well, he's back, and he's back with a vengeance, bringing us a kind of feature that I don't think we've ever really done before. It's the Luscious Locks Ridders, and he's bringing back to life the United World. Tell us more, Ridders, please do.
Yeah. Thanks, tangential one. Is that how we're referring to him now?
Do you know what? That's why I couldn't wait for you to return. The rest of the squad could learn a lot from you, Ridders.
Would we call him Grasshopper soon?
Simo.
So thank you, tangential one. As alluded to, I've started a sort of project bringing back the We Are United storyline. I don't know what it was in preparation for episode 100, but I had the Picture Story Monthlies out, the United Comics out, and I read The Dream again, Yeah, fantastic. I think we've looked at that, haven't we, in a past one? And it features Jamie Warren, a young lad, and he comes back to play for a United team being managed by Hedgehog Jones and Terry Evans. And as we've said a lot of the times, that's where your story stops. Done. We are United. That's the end, sort of thing. So I've always wanted it to carry on, but obviously it's not going to. So I just thought I'd kind of start it myself, really. Start going, oh, that's a lovely graphic. I'd recommend going onto YouTube. Well, they'll be able to see that on YouTube, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, they should see that on YouTube.
Yeah,
just again for the listeners, sorry, I've stopped Rinder's tracks because he's mentioning it. I've got like a folder with all the covers of the Football Picture Story monthlies of all the United stories. So I've just shown that briefly.
Oh, that's lovely.
Wow, I had no idea there were that many.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So there's the depth of, you know, the history of We Are United through the Picture Story monthlies. There was that many stories and things like that. So really what I've decided to do is start a project, start writing. And I thought what I'd try to do is start writing the We Are United story, and literally a couple of seasons after that Jamie Warren joins them. So they still have a couple of the players like Wes Blake, Craig Kerr that I mentioned and signed in the previous story when they're battling back, which I think is 409 or something like that. And because I'm United obsessed, whenever
413, sorry.
Is it 413?
So I've got it because I've got it to hand, so I am cheating. Yeah, sorry. 413, battling back. Yeah.
Oh, tangential one.
I tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but this pod is going brilliant.
I'll tell you what, you know what?
I
mean, I know I'm not listening to this, but I'm switching off now.
It's taken 102 episodes, but we've finally found our stride.
Right, here we go. But anyway, so so what we'll see. So I've decided to sort of carry that story on, and because I'm United obsessed, so every time I play Championship Manager, I'd have to edit United in. Every time I play Pro Evo, I'd have to edit United in. So everything I've done creatively in football ever has featured We Are United. So I've had all these additional storylines and extra things in my head that, you know, players would clash, returning ex-United players would one day come to manage them, be part of the coaching staff, be director of football. There'd be a stand named after them. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And in fact, I should have wrote them down. Now I'll re-listen to the pod. I haven't actually got them right in this year. I'll read them. But yeah, so I've kind of took all those ideas. I wrote them all down, and then I've kind of put them into ChatGPT. And what that does is that sort of fleshes these ideas out and puts word, sort of what's the business speak? It puts meat on the bones, so to speak, of all these ideas. So I had this big long list of what could happen to this United team under such legendary characters of Hedgehog Jones and Terry Evans. For people who've read We Are United from the Champ days, obviously Hedgehog and Terry, they're probably you can probably think of others, guys, but they're the ones from the start to the finish. I think they're the only ones really. Probably Joe Pearson.
Well, can I just say, because
sure.
Simo got me on that, because this was interesting, because Simo did ask a great question a few episodes back, and I did answer incorrectly, because Alex Hedgehog Jones wasn't in issue 1, was he? Because he was introduced to the team by the groundsman. But you're right, Terry Evans was there from issue 1, but Alex joined shortly afterwards. But of course, I think you're right. Even like through Champ, but certainly when we moved to the Football Picture Story monthlies, I think they became the 2 biggest characters, right?
I think so. Yeah, there were other really good characters definitely with them. Yeah, and I think they're the 2 really. And I seem to remember, but when he was playing for United, Hedgehog Jones was almost like his confidant, wasn't he? And
that's correct. Yeah,
so they featured in those stories as well. So I'm just thinking about, like, you know, creating this ongoing story. If Hedgehog Jones and Terry Evans are involved, that's like your link, isn't it, between the past and the future and ongoing. So I've basically just started writing a book and sort of using ChatGPT to add flourishes and add like well, as you can tell, words.
Which you seem to be struggling for at the moment, but
and add some eloquence and structure and stuff. So, but yeah, so it's been, to be honest, it's my hobby. It's me adding United. It's me living the world and adding. So what I've done is I've copied it all into Word, and then my idea is I've put it into a website called Wattpad, where you can just freely go to the link and read it. And it's
right.
It's my continuation from issue 418. Is it 417, the last United, wasn't it? 418 was the last ever Picture Story month.
Yeah.
So it's my multiverse Earth 2, if you like, continuation of the United storyline, featuring, well, loads of names, past and present, from United. So some of the stories I've had obviously player disagreements, transfer requests, fighting in the tunnel, a player with a broken heart, a poker game on the coach, off-field issues, we've got a charity match. Oh, that's great.
Sorry, I stopped. Yes.
Yeah, that's Trick or Smart, isn't it? From
I believe so.
A previous one, yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of what I've done as well as it being a continuation of We Are United. That's a lovely front cover. The dream for our listeners on the YouTube channel. You can see the dream. Yeah. But what I've done is I've used the DC Thompson stable, if that's the right word, stable of characters.
Yeah,
we've got like the current Riverton United team holding a charity match to help High Rise Rovers to raise money for them.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah,
and we've got stories of United in the community section where some of the United players are visiting local hospitals. We've got, I think, Bygone, you had a great idea for a DC Thompson legend turning up as an agent somewhere in the story, which was just pure brilliance. Bygone, I loved that. So that went straight in. We've got an ex-striker with the initials of JG turning up as a coach at a Scottish team. So I'm just trying to sort of, I'm having some fun with the DC Thompson universe whilst trying to tell a story of United in this season afterwards. What did crop up that was quite cool when I put it into ChatGPT was, I think I was Googling United stuff in work, which I quite often do, unless my boss is listening, and then I'm not. I'm also working very well
during your lunch hour.
During the lunch hour,
you have a little break, and of course, obviously, you work in IT. Every 2 hours, you have to just divert your eyes. So
for health and safety reasons, I was Googling stuff. And I thought, well, I'll ask ChatGPT what it knows, and it come up with a few bits and pieces. And then I said, and I think I just asked, what would a modern United look like? And it listed these like 16 players, and the bottom player was called Kevin Nicholish Jr.
Yes, yeah.
So it must have took what it knew from the web, and it just pushed this character on me called Kevin Nicholish Jr. And I think that was the spark. And I went, oh yeah, I bet he's a good striker. I bet he's like his dad. But I bet you he finds it a bit of a pain living. His dad was a legend of the club. I bet he finds that a pain. And then I noticed the left winger was called Henry Jones. And I was like, well, that's Hedgehog's son. Done deal. I don't care if it was supposed to, it wasn't. That's now all these stories just started firing off about what would it like to be growing up in the shadow of you. So basically, I've just run with it, really. And where are we in the season? I think we've just gone past the January transfer window in my United first season back. And I've come up with even more stories because I'm just like a kid in a sweet shop. Every time I switch Sky Sports News on and I see something's happened, I go, oh, that could happen. Yeah. So I'm just adding more and more stuff to it. I'm just really enjoying it as a personal project, writing about United in the future. And there's some good stuff coming out of it. I'm really happy with the way it's sort of turning out. It's very nerdy. There's plenty of team lists. There's plenty of goal scorers, league tables, stats.
To then push you on that though, but I believe you have on the Facebook group, which is the United and Football Pitch Story monthly Facebook group. You have posted links, haven't you? You are publishing, right? Let's just be clear, on the internet, not selling anything. And as you say, this is your own kind of pride and fan fiction type scenario, albeit with ChatGPT. But it's out there for people if they are interested to take a look.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, more than happy. It's more United. It's my take on it. It's kind of my love of United and just wanting more. sort of mixing it with a bit of modern tech. But yeah, if you're on the Champ We Are United Facebook group, I will occasionally put a link to it to click on. You can click on and read it if you like,
and I'll add it to the show as well. I'll add it to the show, so like the link to the show as well.
Oh, okay,
so people
cool.
are interested, they can go.
Yeah.
If they're not on Facebook, they can access it.
Yeah,
but you know, like, sorry, I think it's a great site you've gone to as well, because I've checked it out, obviously, because I don't want to spoil the storyline. One of the teams I was involved in my past life, is featured on there.
Yeah, of course.
It's a great little site because you can comment and like and different things. Like a bit similar effect. You can put comments on there like a Word document and interact on there. So it is a great site. I've read through and things like that. It reads really well, Ridders. It's really good fan fiction. Yeah, I like going there, and I like eating my dinner reading the stories.
All right. Oh, look at that. Nice one.
It feels like new content. It's fresh, so yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
And I think with Champ, I was obviously with Football Picture Story Monthly, that's how I got into United storyline. But with Champ, I'm new to Champ, relatively new through this podcast. And it is like, as Graham has gone through it is more realistic than Roy the Rovers, because it introduces you and you feel part of the club. And I think that's what you're reintroducing, like you say, with the charity events and different other things, that other features in there. It feels like it's real life. Like you said, you can pull it off football, news flash on telly, and you can say, right, I'll bring that into a storyline, because I think Champ We Are United, they did that. It like you say, the features on players. And like you said, it did feel real.
Yeah, I think that's what I've tried to do. It's almost like it's not like a day to day. It's not that sort of slow. But you'll read like there'll be a section about just a day at training. Yeah. Who argued with who or something.
The Gary Lineker podcast features in it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's almost like, that's exactly the flavour I wanted to do. What Champ did, sort of the day to day. Here's what they're off to in their private lives. One of the players is about to get engaged. Someone gets the Nicky taken out of them because they got an interview in 442 magazine, and they had like some arty photographs. It really is a bit of banter in the training room between all these characters trying to flesh them out.
Possible. I mean, even like when you were just saying that, then getting engaged, and you could be a young player who's coming through who has to choose between Love Island or play for United Reserves. It happens, doesn't it? In some of the lower divisions, they've had Leyton Orient, I think, had a player going to Love Island for a month.
Yeah. I was just going to say that. I mean, all fairness, I think to the original creators of the United Story and the Football Picture Story monthlies, I mean, to them, really, I know that you're using AI, and I think we'd all agree that, I think what you're churning out is great and is of real interest. But it's testimony to how these guys fueled our imaginations, back when we were reading, and all these years. And in actual fact, we're just crying out. We love, obviously, reading our old editions over and over and again, but we're desperate for new content. And unfortunately, it's not out there. So it's a way for us to fuel that as well, and there's a lot of fan fiction out there, because it will go off on as is my want, a slight tangent, in the Roy of the Rovers world. And I think it's always interesting. There's a start, Stalky Knight, and he's done some amazing stuff. And of course,
he has.
Like a lot of this stuff, it's not the official one, and I'm not going to look at I think Stalky's he's done brilliant, but I don't always agree with the way that his take on the story has been. But at the same time, I've read loads of it and I thoroughly enjoyed it, because the new content wasn't out there.
Just want more. Don't we? Just want more.
And that's what we want. Well, just one other thing there, interesting, that because, as you know, on the Facebook sites, I've been putting the covers of all the Football Picture Story monthlies each day. And on a number, I haven't got to this one yet, but number 183 is Mr. United. And because I don't ever remember, and Simo, I'll look at you for this, certainly not in Champ, but it was a testimonial game, and Paul McGrath and Ian Wright actually turn out in the testimonial game in that one. So you saying again the Gary Lineker podcast, like that. So sometimes, I mean, I don't always like that, because I think it should be a fictitious world and I prefer it all, but at times it does cross over, and United did that, as I say, in that edition of Football Picture Story.
You did get a little bit of that.
Did Mark Lawrenson play against United in one of the Picture Story monthlies as well?
Yes.
Mark Hughes featured as well.
Yeah, good shout, Bygone. Yeah, Mark Hughes did. Yeah.
I think it was all like testimonial games or something like that.
Yeah. We had a few mentions of real clubs as well, didn't we? I think it was one. Was at the end of the first season when they got promoted, where they were watching the TV, and Hedgehog goes, "Oh, look, there's Nottingham Forest," and things like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, speaking of Hedgehog, in one of the United fact files, doesn't Hedgehog Jones support Liverpool?
Yes.
Yeah. In the fact files,
That was a tough day when I learned that. That was a really tough. I remember that day.
Nearly fell out.
Dearly me. But yeah. So yeah, that's my thing. We are back. I say it's a labour of love, and I look forward to starting to write it so much every day. I just want to get work out of the way and get the kids fed, get them out of the way, all that nonsense, and then do this. But thanks for letting me come on and talk about it. I hope it sparks a bit of conversation. Oh, by the way, I will just throw a little bomb into the mix now. I think it's Riverton United's 4th match of the season. They play Melchester Rovers.
Yes.
There you go. What do you think about that, boys? Bosh.
Well, mixing the multiverses, I think. God knows what's going to happen there.
You know what you're saying now. You're going to have to come back, aren't you? You're going to have to come back on and do that as a section, aren't you?
We'll have to have a full match report on that one.
Yeah. Well, managed by Roy Race.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Ridders, how much of the team control do you have in terms of actually managing the team? You get to make the big decisions.
Writing it. Yeah. I write.
A little bit of advice for you from I think you need to check out this Oxford Wanderers centre back that's
I know
getting a bit of you really need to you really need to take a serious look at him.
Yeah, I reckon. Is it M. Richards? Is it someone? Is it Matt R? Someone like that.
Matt Richards. That's an unusual name.
Has he got a decent left foot? Has he got a decent left foot? I might know something like that.
I'll be honest with you. He sounds like just to hoof it out the park to me.
Aerial ability and leadership. So
leadership.
We've definitely been aware of the leadership. Aerial ability. Well, we don't know. Can you fly?
Sorry, leadership or airship was that?
No ability. Yeah.
No, I think I got to say, I mean, I think it's brilliant. And it's one thing, as I say, there's actually quite a lot out there in the fan fiction world. And we always say actually about the pod, I mean, we're 102 episodes in and we've really only scratched the surface of the things that we can talk about in the history. But at the same time, I find it really interesting because I think it's something that we all share on here, that we'd love to see new content, and I've never been sort of, I think I have shared with Simo a couple of bits. I know Neil, you've done some stuff, but I've always been writing almost synopsises, not necessarily stories, of potential storylines and things of fan fiction. And I know a lot of people out there, but again, for me, it's like tipping the hat to the original creators, because as I say, it just shows how much we enjoyed reading their stories, and we're actually sort of devastated that they've stopped, right? So the only way to continue them is in our own minds, right?
It's like, what's the word? Is it homage? Is it you sort of paying
completely?
It's that, isn't it? It's like we love it so much. We loved your work so much. I'm actually thinking about your work in other scenarios too. It's just
And I know, sort of, again, like I said about at Stalky Night, but obviously as well the creators. And it's interesting, Matt, when you did the feedback, you've got everybody. That's the point. Football's a game of opinions, and all of us, won't agree. Somebody there didn't like the storyline of Who Shot Roy. Personally, I did, but that's what it's about. But then as well, on the United verse, a number 175 in the Football Picture Story Monthly, a story called A World Apart. And it's actually Fred Rimmy and Charlie Ironbar. They go to a small lower league club, and Fred Rimmy's the manager and Ironbar is the coach, and they do well. And that's kind of they're left there at the end of that story. And I always thought, oh, that would be a great, follow-on story, but they never did that one. And then years later, Fred Rimmy appears, coming back as an ex-player, but I believe he is in the States. And for me, that is an opportunity missed. And like when we talk about Rebellion, and again, I think it's brilliant that they tried and they brought it back. I didn't want them to reboot, but that's what they did, and I understand that. But if you look at the older listeners, I've always wanted a world where Nipper Lawrence is now the manager of Blackpool Rovers, and Bobby Booth is the manager of Everpool, and all these great teams and all these characters are back and now competing in a different way. And that's, as I say, just fuels our imaginations.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You just want it to live on, don't you? You want it. You're hoping that enough people see what you're doing that it might inspire the creators to go, hang on a minute, we'll have another go at this.
Yeah.
There's enough people out there want it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I know you need more than one person to buy, but trust me, DC Thompson and Rebellion, if you do release more, We Are United, Roy the Rovers, or any Football Picture Story Monthly, I can guarantee you at least one subscriber.
Yeah, absolutely.
And his email is tangential one. When you get the
Well, if I'd have won, I'll be honest with you, if I'd have won the Euro Millions on Friday, I would have been approaching both DC Thompson and Rebellion, self-funded. Please, new stories.
Is that after buying a bigger house to store them all in first?
Well, to be continued, shall we say? Well, Ridders, fascinating stuff. And as we said, I think, Matt, you mentioned that you'll share the links, and obviously it's on the Facebook group. So if you are interested in hearing more about that or reading up, but I do think, actually, Ridders, that might be a good one, a match report of the old United play Melchester Rovers. Everybody remember, it's just a bit of fun and fiction. Let's not get too worried or argue about them, the multiverses colliding, but what a match it promises to be.
Let's see what happens, eh? Yeah, see what happens.
Exactly. Right. Brilliant. Cheers, Ridders. Thoroughly enjoyed that. And obviously, as I say, looking forward to hearing how that's going and progressing. And it'd be great to hear from the listeners as well, if you take a look at that and your thoughts on it. And
of course.
General thoughts about fan fiction and what else is out there.
Yeah.
So, Matt.
Yes.
We can see the picture behind you.
Yes.
Part 2.
Yeah.
Will we get the revelation?
Well, let's see, shall we? Yeah. So, who shot Roy Ray? So, just a brief recap then for the part 1. So, Rovers have been relegated, but Roy's problems are just starting really, and he's fallen out with a lot of people. He signed Kenny Logan, but his dad Arthur Logan is not happy with that. He wants him to be an estate agent.
Footballer or estate agent?
It's a toss-up. Well, one's definitely involves a toss-up, doesn't it? And the other is just tosser. Sorry if there's any estate agents.
And for all those, this is just a little bit of fun.
The words
are those
agents.
Yeah, those words of Matt Richards, and not those of the views or opinions of the pod in general.
It's a big demographic as well, the estate agents. Oh, God.
Other occupations are available.
Bit Gut-Free was dropped. So he's fallen out. Elton Blake, because they're doing a TV show called Melchester Magic. Elton Blake has been dropped from the TV show, so he's not happy with Roy. Trevor Brinsden, he's not happy because he's been banned from Melchester Stadium. And of course, Arnie Mekiv's turned up as well. He's an Australian cousin, and he's not happy as well because Roy's kind of, he's reported to the police for committing fraud. So there's all this stuff going on. Also, we've had Roy and Penny went to the royal wedding as well, so we had that with Roy Jr. and Melinda. They had a new strip as well. Do you remember that? So we've done that as well, and also we've had loads of green suits. So it's
funnily enough, none of us could dig ours out for tonight.
Which is a shame because usually you can pull out a suit, can't you? You'll notice a tangential one, but not.
So that strip you brought out, was it? You said it was on last week's. Was it the one with Gola on it?
Yeah, it was the Gola. Yeah.
Did that coincide with it being released in the real world? Was that part of that?
Yeah.
Was that the whole thing? Was it? Yeah. Oh, right, great idea. Yeah. Oh, okay.
You're beating me to it, Matt.
What's that?
the cover of the strip. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to share yours.
I'm going to share my screen now. So
yeah. Oh, look at that. That is such an iconic cover.
That's cool.
So yeah. So this is how we left it, and he's behind me now as well. I mean, how many times do you have to remind him he got shot? But yeah. So we're going to pick up the story. So he's been shot. So a couple of minutes later, Vic Guthrie walks in. And he's like, Roy, are you there? That noise, it sounded like a shot. And it's Roy. And we see Roy. He's down. He's on the floor. And then it moves along. Suddenly you've got a scene in the hospital, and the doctor, he's been wheeled in on a trolley with the two porters. Interesting, wearing green t-shirts. Yeah. I won't mention green on every single page.
Green scrubs.
Green scrubs. Sorry, yeah, green scrubs. And the doctor's like, Roy Race, I can't believe it. And like, gangway, and they've got to get him into a theatre or something as soon as possible. And you've got Ben Galloway there. He's talking to the Inspector Manning, and you've got Vic there, and he's talking to Sam Barlow and some other officials. And Ben's going, so you're treating this as an attempted murder, Inspector? And he's, yeah. For the time being, Mr. Galloway, can you think of anyone who might have had a motive for taking a shot at Roy? A fan, officials, players. And he went, such as you, Mr. Guthrie. And like, because Vic's there, and he's like, I understand there have been some pretty ugly scenes between you and Roy. And he's like, that's right, Inspector. That's why I went back to the stadium tonight. I was hoping to have a final make or break talk with Roy to try and clear the air. And good grief, surely you haven't put me on your list of suspects. So, they're one by one, the police are going to start kind of pulling in the suspects. So we go back to the hospital, and you've got a picture there of Penny, tears streaming down her face, and she's there by Roy's bedside, and she's thinking, you'll make it, Racy. You've got to. So it's tough times. Rovers' next match, Blackie takes over as player manager, but of course their performance is affected because Roy's in hospital, isn't he? So so they can't really concentrate. Actually, Kenny Logan is playing. He's off form, and like Blackie talks to him at half time, and he goes, "What's wrong? What's wrong? Is it something to do with your father?" And then that's when Kenny says, "Well, everyone knows how much my dad hates Roy because I prefer to play for Rovers than work in the family business. I keep wondering if he had anything to do with the shooting."
So no. You totally dropped a minute there, haven't you?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cheers,
son.
Blood thicker than water and all that.
Yeah. Well, I believe you could have done it, Dad.
He's trying to do anything to not become an estate agent. He really doesn't.
Yeah. Do you know what? If my dad gets done for murder, we can just fold the family business, and I can just carry on playing up front.
Oh dear. So story continues. So the Rovers actually draw 1-1, but the performance wasn't great, and including Blackie. And Sam Barlow speaks to Blackie and he says that he's going to work on something to try and fix that, because clearly Blackie's in no state to kind of manage the team. So they're at the training ground, and suddenly a car kind of pulls up. It looks like a mauve Jag or something like that, and it's going, I think the press people are there, and they're going, it's rumoured that the Rovers have approached one of the biggest names in football to help them through this present crisis. And then you have a shot of someone looking out to the press for a car window, and they see who it is, and they go, yes, by golly, look who it is. And then next week you see, and this is on the front page, you have a picture there of Sir Ralph Ramsey has walked in, and he's becoming the caretaker manager of Melchester Rovers. I'm still trying to get over the colour of that car, but anyway, I'm going to carry on. But so you've got self-evident, and bear in mind this is 1982, so this is it's only 16 years since England won the actual World Cup. It's amazing, isn't it? Really, to think 16 years is nothing nowadays, isn't it?
No.
What do you reckon about that tangent? Again, you were saying before about real characters, and how did you feel about that at the time?
Yeah.
Do you know what? Yeah, again, I did have real mixed feelings about it, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it crosses over when Roy managed the game against Holland, and real players playing with the
Malcolm McDonald, Trevor Francis. Yeah. So anyway, Sir Ralph is the manager, and they're away at Westbury, and he's picked Vic Guthrie. So Vic's, he's under suspicion, but he's picking him, so it's fine. Yeah.
Still got a job to do, Matt. He's still got a job to do.
Well, yeah, exactly. Now, Roy's in the hospital. You can't see him on here, but he's in the hospital, and the doctors are playing the match commentary for Roy to hear. Obviously, they're hoping that probably the crowd or something like that will kind of get him out of his coma. The Rovers go 1 goal down, and Alf gives a bit of a team half-time talk, and he says, "I'll just carry on as normal." He's really relaxed, is Sir Alf. But then they get a corner, and he tells Vic to go up for the corner and stand on the goal line. And someone in the crowd says, "Oh, that's just what Jackie Charlton used to do for England." So they're playing on that thing. So the corner comes over, keeper punches it, hits the bar, and is there. Mervyn Wallace bangs the ball in. So Rovers 1-0. Happy days. Now they say they're playing this at the hospital, and Penny goes to leave the room, and she hears a groan. And she turns around and she sees that Roy is actually holding Melinda's teddy bear. So they've got a teddy bear there as well. And she's going, wait a minute, I heard him groan. It's like, oh my God, the little teddy which Melinda left behind. It's just lying on the bed a second ago. But now Roy is grasping it. And she's like, Roy, it's me. It's Penny. Oh, please open your eyes. Speak to me, Roy, please. But he's lost consciousness again. So they move on to the next match. And this one is against Keysborough. But this time they're thinking, well, you know what? There's a glimmer there, so they're really kind of bigging it up. So you got the tannoy, you got the over the speaker. They're saying, you really want the crowd to kind of get ready to shout for Rovers to wake up Roy. So the game starts, and Rovers go 2-0 up. And you can see, and there's a picture there, Roy in a green t-shirt. I won't keep going on about it, but there's. He's sitting in bed, or laying in bed, sorry. He's out, but they've got a massive speaker. You've got 2 massive speakers. I don't know where you got the speakers from. Massive speakers next to him. And they go, "Here we go, everybody. Keep your fingers crossed." And the commentary over the radio is going, and Rovers have lost no time putting Sir Ralph's tactics to the test. Noel Baxter is just storming up the right wing. And he crosses it in, and Vernon Elliott, he scores the first one. And Vic Guthrie goes up for corner. And they're watching Keysborough, watch him. But they totally bypasses him, and Paco Diaz is there. He's at the back stick, and it's 2-0 up, and it's brilliant. And the crowd are going crazy, and so much so that a policeman throws his hat up in the air, and so then the crowd are going, "Oh, so what are we waiting for? All together now!" And so they start singing "Roy Race, Roy Race, Roy Race," and they turn the radio up in the hospital, and it's like "Roy Race, Roy Race, Roy Race." They turn up as loud as they possibly can, up to 11. For you Spinal Tap fans. And then suddenly, Roy's eyes kind of open. And they go, Roy Race, Roy Race. And then you go, and it's like, he's opening his eyes. My grief, I think we've done it. He's coming out of his coma. It's amazing scenes. I could feel goosebumps going down me.
Yeah.
As I say that. And he comes around, and he comes around. Penny's really excited. And she's like, Roy. And the doctor's holding her back. And the doctor's going, he mustn't have too much excitement. Not yet, anyway. It's vital. His recovery is gradual. And she's going, but what? I've waited for this moment for weeks. So I'm not quite sure what she was going to do to him at that particular moment. But I mean, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. And also, I noticed that she's got the tangential one's sheepskin coat on as well. I've noticed that as well.
Whoa, hold on a minute. I better go. Sorry, listen, I'll be back in a minute. I'm just going to check my cupboard.
Where were you in 1982, Paul?
Sat in front of the comic reading it.
So he's coming round. So it's great news, and they've got to keep Penny away from him, just in case. You never know what might happen. So the announcement's made at the match that Roy's come out of his coma, and everyone's cheering. The crowd's cheering. The players are cheering. The Keysborough players are cheering. Alf decides to go on the walkabout around the side of the pitch, and the fans are going, "I reckon you brought us luck, Sir Ralph. Isn't it fantastic?" And he's going, "Unbelievable!" And everyone's shaking Blackie's hand. And it's great. So anyway, the Rovers obviously they're happy about this. So they're boosted by this. They actually go 4-0 up. So now they're 4-0 up after a header from Blackie Gray. And the crowd are talking to each other, and one goes, "God, at this rate, Roy's recovery could bring us another record." And the other one goes, well, the greatest number of goals scored by any team in the Football League game. I mean, they've only scored 4. I mean, and already they're thinking, let's go for a record.
It's party time, Matt. It's carnival. Come on.
Yeah, but I think they've gone early. I think they've gone early. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Okay, so let's see what happens. I don't know what could happen.
What could happen?
What could happen? So anyway, we go for next week. Now they're 8-0 up. 8-0 up. Roy is coming round further and further, and he actually says to Penny, he goes, what's the record for the most goals scored by one team in the Football League game, Penny? I mean, it's the first thing he thinks. And she says, Roy Race, you've been unconscious for 7 weeks, and all you can think about is football.
I'll be honest with you. She's been married to him for a few years now. She should know by now. Really, that's all he's going to be interested in.
And then, just as she says that, a doctor barges in from the next room and says, a chap in the next ward is a football fanatic, Roy. He says it's 13 goals by Newcastle, Stockport and Tranmere. And so Roy goes, so Rovers need another 6 to break the record. And actually, interesting fact is Newcastle, Stockport and Tranmere, they do hold the record, the EFL record for goals scored in a match. Yeah. So that wasn't plucked out of thin air. I mean, I know Simo, voice of reason, would have known that anyway. So,
of course.
Question is, will they hold the record by the end of this pod?
Wow. What do you think, Kay?
I'll have a cheeky fiver that they won't.
So anyway, now actually, and I've missed this out, but they're 13-0 up. So they've already equaled Newcastle, Stockport and Tranmere. They're 13-0 up, and there's a throw, and Roy's there, and he's like, a long throw straight into the goal mouth. Let Duncan Mackay take it. And it's like, Mackay, stop it. And then suddenly, at the speaker, the commentator goes, and it looks as if they were going to ping everything on one of Duncan Mackay's mighty throws. And the doctor's like, great Scott, it's as if they heard him. Roy has managed to somehow, by ESP or something, get it over to the Rovers. And so anyway.
Look at his little smug face, Royce. Smug face in bed there.
And there's the Brinston element of Bygone. You knew. He's still gutted. He's out of the coma. Get over it.
As well, to be honest.
He's in his deathbed and you're still having a pop at him. I mean, come give him some respect.
Dear.
Anyway, so Alf pushes Vic up again for another. Well, not for corner time. This is for a long throw. He gets his head onto it. He nods it on, and then I think that's Mervyn Wallace. Mervyn Wallace has a shot, but it's blocked. But then Kenny Logan is there. Whoosh. The estate agent, he's nodded it in.
What a header. So
it's 14-0. The crowd go wild and they run onto the pitch and woo-wee! Kenny's going and Rovers have set a new league record. And so the crowd all run onto the pitch and the police are saying, oh yeah, let them go, lads. This is one pitch invasion. I wouldn't mind joining in myself because that's what police always, they're always that understanding, aren't they? And then they interview Sir Alf after the game and you've got the journalist there and he's going, Sir Alf, would you say that Rovers are beginning to settle into your style of play? And Alf, quite calm and he just goes, oh yes, although they missed a few chances, I'm quite pleased with today's performance.
Missed a few chances, only got 14.
and that is why we won the World Cup with a man like that. He wasn't quite happy with the 14-0 victory.
So anyway, so Roy's come round and the police interview Roy, but he says he didn't see his assailant. He didn't see who actually shot him. So meanwhile, the police stop Vic Guthrie. He's actually at the airport, and he's trying to get on a plane. As you see later on, he's trying to actually get to Basran. He's off to Basran. Yeah, I know. And then they stop him and they go, "That's right. I think in the circumstances that Chief Inspector Manning would like another chat with you about the attempted murder of Roy Race." So he's 100% one of the suspects. His poor old Vic. The police then give an interview on TV saying that Guthrie is the suspect along with Arthur Logan, Arnie Meckiff, Trevor Brinsden, and that all of them are lying low.
Sorry, Neil Trevor Brinsden.
Yeah.
You know who else should have been a suspect?
Pardon?
Blackie Gray. If Roy wasn't there, he would have been the club legend. He would have been the manager and everything. He'd have had Penny.
Sorry, what is it? Sorry, Neil. Grandad Gangster Brinsden conspiracy theorist Berrigan.
Every time something happens to Roy, Blackie's there.
It's because he's his best mate and he's always by his side.
He is there. Yeah.
I'm surprised they never. I thought the Melbourne manager, he had a pretty strong hatred for
Andy
Roy
Jackson,
as well, didn't he?
Yeah. A lot of people did, yeah.
Ridders, you can put that in your fan fiction as well.
We just get a pen. Let me write that down. Cheers, bygone.
And Elton Blake actually apparently is in Canada visiting relatives. So the TV are talking about all the suspects. Go on. No, go on.
I was just going to say, in that talk, like we often speak about, it's just interesting, as Simo loves, like when we try and place it, it's interesting. It does mention that he's sacked from Midlands Television. So, the show Melchester Magic was going to be on Midlands Television. So,
good spot. Never thought of that.
Another clue.
They won't let Vic go to Basran to arrange a kidnapping for 3 years' time, but they'll let Elton Blake go to Canada.
Well, I think he was there already. But yeah, good spot. Anyway, Roy comes out of hospital. He's got like some sort of like tennis headband on. And as they're driving home, Penny just casually mentions that she's pregnant again.
Blackie again. Blackie Gray again.
Like that wouldn't raise questions, would it?
I don't know if you guys know how this works, right? He was in a coma for 10 weeks. Okay.
Is that Sir Ralph Ramsey filling in there?
Didn't say how. Well, tightening things up at the back.
On that bombshell,
Matt, if you wouldn't mind moving this on quickly before Simo says anything else.
Rovers
might have to remove the Voice of Reason nickname, I think.
And Rovers play away. So there you go, more play away at Wallingford. And they managed to scrape a 1-1 draw with Kenny Logan equalising. And then as they come off the pitch, there's a figure waiting for them, and it's Roy with Penny and the twins. So he's out of hospital, and he's back at the they're away, so he's back watching the Rovers. The investigation.
Before you go any further, Matt, I think it's important that you guys see this, because I think this could shed some light on who did it. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this, but why on earth are Blackie and Alf Ramsey in disguise? Is there something they're trying not to tell us?
That is the version I've got as well. Go on. Do you want to say, Paul?
For listeners, Simo has just shown a picture of Blackie Gray and Sir Ralph Ramsey with some obviously drawn-on mustachios and specs, shall we say. I think maybe, those specs you get from the magic shop or joke shop with the nose attached as well.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Brilliant, Simo, yeah. Exactly. They're not fooling anybody, are they? So the investigation continues. So again, we're watching TV, and it says, so it's welcome back, Roy Race. On a more serious note, Vic Guthrie is still being questioned by police. Guthrie was intercepted at Manchester Airport as he was about to board a flight to Middle Eastern state of Basran. The police are also talking to Arthur Logan, father of the Manchester striker Kenny Logan. Mr. Logan was traced.
He's guilty.
Yeah, because his son said.
Sorry, the police received an official tip-off from his son.
Mr. Logan was traced to a hotel in the north of Scotland early this morning. You can see it's Hotel Sporran. I think that's Hotel Sporran. I think
it does look like that, actually. Yeah,
in a green. Thank you, Simo. Thank you.
And then in the next frame, what colour's Roy wearing?
Green. And they've got the space age TV there, which I've never seen a TV like, but it's very 70s. And so, they're contemplative. Roy's looking through many letters and cards from well-wishers, and he's saying, do you think Logan could have had anything to do with it, Roy? And he's like, well...
The father of the baby?
Yeah.
Oh,
we've moved on from that, Berrigan.
He said, well, he made some nasty threats, Penny, but so did my cousin Arnie Mekiv, and there's been no sign of him since I threatened to expose that land racket he was operating. Anyway, move on to the Melchester Stadium for the next home game, and there's police there, and they're looking out for Trevor Brinsden.
Yeah,
we haven't seen him for a while, have they? So anyway,
what do you
Roy
think
actually,
about that? The chair of the Brinsden fan club, bygone.
He's innocent.
He's innocent.
He's not that daft.
Well, we're about to find out.
So Roy, he's at the ground, and they're playing Dalton, and yeah, the commentators, and I can hardly hear myself speak. This is a moment Roy Race will remember for the rest of his life, and he's had quite a few of those moments recently as well. And then they put out a great big banner, "We missed you, Racy." And yeah, so Rovers actually lose 4-3, so they've done 34 games undefeated, but they finally lost. But they're not too disappointed because obviously Roy's back, and they hoist him onto their shoulders at the end of the game, even though it was their first defeat of the season. And Ben meets them as they come in and says the police have found Arnie Mekif in London, and also Elton Blake has sent in a statement. But the only suspect they haven't found yet is Trevor Brinsden. So yeah, there's posters up of Trevor Brinsden there. So have you seen this man? So it looks as if the net's really kind of closing in on Brinsden. He seems to be the main suspect at the moment anyway. The man who potentially killed or tried to kill Roy Race. So Roy's still trying to get back to fitness. So he's in the gym. He does some training in front of doctors. The doctor who's got a green coat on. And they say he's fit to play against Hunterford on Saturday, and he's got probably the most excited face I've ever seen. I think. Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's actually.
That might have been his face 9 months earlier. I'm not quite sure.
I was just thinking. I knew you were going to
face that Penny wakes up to.
But anyway, we said we weren't going to go there anymore, so it's fine. Whilst at home. This should be 18 rated, this one, isn't it? They're watching the news, and the newsreader goes, Roy's return to active duty couldn't have come more timely. Obviously worried about his father, Kenny Logan is playing well below his normal form. Kenny's father is, of course, just one of the people being questioned by the police about the recent attempt on Roy's life. Now, you've got a scene there, and you've got Melinda, and you've got Roy Jr., and it looks like they're playing, I don't know, Ludo or something like that. And they're just talking about their dad being shot just like that. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Absolutely fine. No mental scarring going on whatsoever.
Cheerful, don't they?
Yeah. And so the news carries on, and they go, Elton Blake, the former star of the television series about the Rovers, arrived at Melchester Police Station today. And so you can see Elton Blake. And Roy's going, it can't be Blake, Penny. I mean, he'd hardly give himself up if he was the culprit. And Blake turns and he shouts at the camera, and he goes, if you think I'm the kind of person who goes around shooting football managers and trying to run people down on motorbikes, you must be crazy. So there you go. So you've got Elton Blake. So Roy still thinks that Brinsden is the most likely suspect. He said, that hooligan abandoned him from the ground, and there hasn't been a sign of him since the shooting. So now we flash back and we go to Trevor Brinsden's house. And this is interesting. I don't know how old Trevor Brinsden is, but he's got loads of posters up of Roy. He's got a scarf up as well. He's sitting in some old armchair, and he's the pictures he's got up of Roy. He hasn't taken them down. He's like drawn across them, put crosses on them as well, and he's written "creep" on one of them as well, and he's shaking his fist. He's changed, but he just basically hasn't had a shave, and his hair's a little bit longer. But the caption says his closest friends would have difficulty recognising him. But he's looking at a map of the Melchester Stadium, and he's going, well, that's it. That's where I'll get in. And he's shaking his fist, and he goes, and when you run out, and he's talking to Roy, the creep, when you run out on Saturday, creep, I'll be there. You'll never get rid of old Trevor. Never, never, never. He's really after Roy. So anyway.
I don't think he likes him.
I'm kind of getting that feeling as well.
Yeah.
Don't know what it is. Yeah.
I'm getting bygone vibes.
So, yeah, definitely, yeah. I've been diverted from the story. I'm just looking at Neil, and he's got the biggest smile on his face. He's absolutely loving this.
Do you know what? Neil, actually, I'm surprised he didn't mention. If you wouldn't mind just going back. He was just like, how the hell did David Skew draw my bedroom wall for this?
I was just going to say,
no life hack. Brilliant. So Roy runs out at Melchester Stadium, and it's an emotional welcome. And they're playing Hunterford. Some children run on to give him a welcome back sign saying, "Rock on, Roy." Rock on, Roy. Now I'm thinking about rock on, but then I think this is 1982. cannon and ball, rock on Tommy. That's kind of it's.
Can you just see something in the first drawing? What do you think the artist has done there?
Oh, God, I've just noticed that. Brilliant spot to the left of the tunnel.
Oh yes, Skew. He's got Skew in there, hasn't he? Yeah.
He signed his work. He did mention that in our interviews. He said how he used to use the hoardings and put in friends' names and stuff. Yeah.
I hadn't spotted that before.
It's another one he's got. And I bet I'd love to know.
Swanley,
I wonder who Philip Swanley is. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe some of his mates or something like that. Yeah, it'd be interesting.
I'm just reading a new picture story monthly I've just bought, and David Skew's drawing the picture. I did send a picture to Matt. He drew the story, and in it on the board, I'd say nearly every scene is a name. There's loads of different names.
I'm gonna have to get that one. Which one is that one? Which one is that, Bygone? Can you remember? Is it Deadly?
Wait, I sent it. Was it 220?
220.
It was one of the ones I was looking for, and I've just recently found. Just bear with me.
Because I'm also going to send that to Barry Tomlinson so he can send him another nasty letter.
Yeah, exactly.
I've lost it. I'll have to redo it to you.
Well, we'll tell listeners it another time. But it's interesting that David Skew, because drawing for DC. Okay, so mate.
Oh, Dirty Dealings, it's called.
Dirty Dealings. Okay.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah. That's excellent stuff. Okay, so the game starts. Brinson's there. He's found his way into the stadium. He's still clenching his fist. He's got so much anger.
He's got a lot of pent up anger there.
He has. Yeah. So the Blackie passes the ball to Roy, and going, oh, here he goes. The King's back in business. Show us that old Melchester magic. And then Roy goes, Melchester magic, of course. That's it. That's what's been bothering me. I mean, how could he have known? And then somebody shouts, Roy, watch it. Because Melchester Magic was the TV show, wasn't it? That Elton Blake was supposed to be in. And Roy's still thinking, unless he was there at the time, he's got to be the gunman. But then he's not concentrating, and he's been tackled, and the crowd are going, Roy's lost it. He seems to be daydreaming. And then we see that Brinson's in the ground, and he starts shouting. He goes, "Oh, that was rubbish. They ought to ban him from Mel Park." Now, this is a bit of a sidebar. This week, I think it's the 24th of April, 1982. It's the first time, I think, and I'd like listeners to tell me if they've seen it before, but I think it's the first time it's ever called Mel Park. 1982, April 1982. I think it's the first time it was ever mentioned. But anyway, that's one for another. If any listeners know any different, then let me know.
That's a good one, yeah.
So how was it referred to previously?
The Melchester Stadium.
It's
always Melchester Stadium. Through the 50s, the 60s, 70s.
Yeah. It's interesting because, sorry, just on that, Matt. Yeah, I kind of started reading round about this, and of course, I've only ever known it as Mel Park. But yeah, interesting. Well, something else, another edition, another pod.
There you go.
Names of the Melchester Stadium.
So he shouts out and he starts booing, and then the fans are looking at him and they're going, "Oh, hold on a second, I know that voice." And it's like, yeah, me too. Shave off the beard, give him a haircut, and what have you got? Golly, you're right. Because everybody says golly at football matches.
Yeah.
At the time. And they realise it's Trevor. And they go, Trevor Brinsden, the little thug. They're looking for you, the rat who tried to kill Roy. And he's like, no, please. But then Roy gets wind of this, and he's like, and he jumps into the crowd. He's like, out of my way, let me through. And they go, no, look at Roy. Can't wait to get his hands on him. And they go, go on, Racy. But no, he goes, leave him alone, you crazy idiots. So he pulls them off of Brinsden as they're about to kind of give him a good kick in. Rovers win 3-0.
Going back a few frames.
Yeah.
Does anybody know where that magical wall appeared from? He's trying to escape over a wall, and then the next thing you look, he's halfway up the stand. Like, where have we ever seen that wall anywhere in any shots we've ever had of the stadium?
Where's that on the back of the advertising?
I think it's meant to be the advertising hoarding, yeah.
It's where David Skew's putting all these mates' names on. I think that's the back of it.
That's some big advertising hoardings.
Well, they figured out they wanted to be ready for the Champions League in about 30 years' time for the extra advertising hoardings.
Amazing. All these shots, they've all got bubble hats on. Anyway, keep moving on. So Rovers win 3-0. Roy goes to the police station where all the suspects are being held, and and Roy's saying to the policeman, he said, "Don't worry, Sarge. I'll be straight down to the station as soon as I dealt with Hunterford." And so the game finishes. But Roy's got a big smile on his face. He's looking really quite happy. He's going, "Yeah," and he's got one of these floating heads. And he's going, "I feel in the mood to take chances. You see, I'm pretty certain I know who tried to kill me."
Yep.
And so he suggests a plan to the inspector. And the inspector goes, "Oh, wow, this sounds like something out of a Sherlock Holmes movie." And he goes, "I know, Inspector, but none of the suspects are broken down under questioning so far. So what have you got to lose?" So clearly Roy's got a plan. So suddenly they all start coming into the room, and you've got them all there, all the suspects. They come in one by one, including Arthur Logan in the green suit. And it says, a hush fell over the interview room as Roy's gaze roved the 5 suspects. And he goes, "It could be you, Trevor. Our fans certainly seem to think so." He's like, "Yeah, they're crazy. They don't even know how to fire. I don't even know how to fire a gun." And he turns to his cousin Arnie Meckiff, and you had every reason for wanting to silence me, Arnie, especially after I threatened to expose your nasty little land racket. And Arnie goes, "Well, okay, but I'm not a murderer, sport." Was that better? Was that better?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think you're better in short bursts. That's what it was. You nailed it.
Yeah,
Just one
under pressure. I've been thinking about that all day. Then it was the
Trust me, the listeners have been thinking about it for 2 weeks.
They're not listening now, are they? Then it was the turn of former television star Elton Blake. He goes, "You must be bottom of the list of suspects, Blake. After all, you gave yourself up to the police, didn't you?" Blake's there. "Look, do we have to go through this again? I've made a full statement." And then Roy goes, "I'm more concerned with the statement you made on the way into the police station last week. I happened to be watching the television interview." And that was when he said, "If you think I'm the kind of person who goes around shooting football managers and trying to run down people on motorbikes," Roy goes, "That's what you said, wasn't it, Blake? Or would you like us to check it by asking for a copy of the film?" And Blake's there, like, he's had enough. He's like, "Do what you like. What's so important about that interview anyway?" And Roy says, "It's very important because apart from my wife, I didn't tell anyone about the motorcyclist who tried to run me down. Not even the police." And he points his finger at Blake. And he's like, "So how could you have known about it, Blake, unless you were there at the time riding that bike?" And he looks at the policeman. He goes, "Race, must have told somebody else. Maybe I read it in the newspapers or saw it on television." And the inspector's there. "If you did, Mr. Blake, the police would have followed it up, like we're going to now. Let's go." "Oh no!" And then he runs at Roy. And he's going, "He's trying to deliberately destroy me like he did before. Roy, look out!" And then he takes a swing at him. "You're lying, Race. You're trying to destroy me. Roy, look out!" And Roy's like, "It's okay, Inspector." And then he just hits him with a right hand over Roy straight to the chin. He goes, "I'm not standing with my back to him this time." And he knocks him out. And it's like, "Sorry about that, but I think I earned the right to take at least one punch at him." And the inspector's like, "You saved us the trouble, Roy. All right, Constable, take him away." And then the police go, "He was always top of our list, Roy." Was he? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, we'll let him have that. Although we've still got to establish beyond any doubt that he was responsible for the shooting, I think we can break him down now. Imagine what they do to him. And Roy's like, "But why? Why did he try to kill me?" And then the policeman comes over, all earnest, with a floating head, and says, "I understand that the television series about the Rovers was Blake's last chance to become a really big star. If he convinced himself that you had him removed from the series, need I say more, Roy?" And then Arnie Meckiff's there. "I told you it wasn't me, Inspector. So how about letting us out of here, eh, sport?"
You're ad-libbing. That's where it goes wrong. You'd have stuck to the script. You'd have been all right. It's that
nobody knows. Nobody knows. Shut up. You're kidding me, you tangential. "Sorry, Mr. Meckiff," says the inspector. "There's a little matter of trying to sell Australian swampland as valuable building plots." "Should have plugged you myself, Race." He's gone American again. And Roy's, "It's nice to know you too, Arnie." They take away Arnie Meckiff. Brinsden's running out of the police station, And the policeman's saying, and don't forget, Brinsden, you're still barred from the Rovers ground. He's like, don't worry, I'm not going back there again. And he's thinking, not for a while anyway, but as soon as things have cooled down, I'll be back where I belong, rooting for the Rovers.
Matt, are you going to have a crack at Vic's Welsh accent before you go any further?
Well, Vic's oh God, no. That would be, I think we will be cancelled on that one. And there's Roy there, and he's like, Roy, Vic. Vic's there, and he's talking to Roy, and he goes, Roy, I know, Vic. It's all been pretty messy after everything that's happened. There's only one thing I've got to say. See you at training next Tuesday, 9:30 sharp. He's like, thanks, Roy. You won't regret this, I promise.
Oh, that was a bit sly, wasn't it? Did you see what he said there?
He's
having a dig at old Vic there. I'll see you next Tuesday.
See you at training. See you at training next Tuesday. Oh.
Yeah, very good. Very good.
And that's the end of the story. I mean, also Arthur Logan gets taken away, and I think the story does carry on a bit more because Arthur Logan's still not happy about Kenny signing. But this is May 1982 now. This is the whole season. We've gone from May 1981 to May 1982. Rovers get promoted, obviously back to the first division. We found out who shot Roy Race. Who shot Roy Race, Elton Blake.
Just on that, Matt, brilliant, fantastic feature. But obviously, as you started off with the Melvin's musing, the feedback, and one of the things about the person that said about the story, and like we said earlier on, that's what we love. That's football's a game of opinions, and we all like to hear different people's views and that on the comics as well. But I was just looking at the covers and trying to trace. Roy, I think, was in a coma for basically 10 editions, so that's 10 weeks. And I've mentioned this on the pod before. In every week that Roy the Rovers came out, I think it was Mike Reed on Radio 1's Breakfast Time. He would actually say it was announced on his breakfast show that Roy was still in a coma. So like we said about the readership and stuff, and that's why it was done, because it really did actually, it got in newspapers, it was actually on the news, on television. And as I say, Radio 1 were actually giving weekly updates. Is Roy out of his coma yet? So that was quite some story in the time.
It really was.
I remember.
And also, I've got it here.
Yeah.
But in Barry Tomlinson's book, Real Roy the Rovers stuff, he covers it really in depth there on how big a press story it was at the time. And, as I say, it was to kind of generate a bit of press coverage and promotion as well as being, as I say, very timely because of the JR, and it's. Yeah, I can remember I read it at the time, and I loved it. You genuinely didn't know who.
How did you feel? How did you feel at the time when you were reading this? Because obviously you were a young lad at the time.
Yeah, 11.
So 11, and then the scene where Roy is lying on the floor just after he's been shot. How was that at the time?
It was
stomach turning.
Really shocking. Really shocking. Yeah, because this is, and I know like other characters have died or not died, but been shot in comics and stuff like that. But yeah, you're really invested, aren't you, as a 11-year-old, 10-year-old, or whatever age you're reading it, and then suddenly you see him shot, and you don't know they're going to live, do you? You don't know they're going to live. I can't remember being upset because it's at the end of the day, you still know it's just a comic, and loads of crazy things happen. You just seen that, loads of things happen. So yeah, but it was shocking at the time. It's great. I think it's great
back, story. Matt, can you remember who at the time you thought it was? As a story,
I think probably would have been Brinsden. You kind of would direct when you look at it. Even now, you look at it. You directed towards Brinsden, aren't you? And it was not necessarily the slimy actor. And I never picked up on that whole thing about the motorbike or the motorcyclist or anything like. You read it now and it's obvious that he talks about it, but you didn't know. He might have spoken it. He might have said it to somebody else.
Well, I only read this issue going back maybe 6 weeks ago, something like that, and even I missed that.
Yeah.
And you think as you're older you would spot things that you would miss as a kid, but no, I sailed straight past it, never picked up on it.
But I think that's the great part, and I think, in all fairness, that's what you've got to give Barry his due. Well, obviously, he was the editor, Tom Tully, writing this. I mean, I'm sure we all, like Agatha Christie's, but US cop shows, UK cop shows, TV shows. Those are the little nuggets, in every whodunit that you've got to look out for, and they've encapsulated it brilliantly. They've set out the scene, they've given everybody a motive, haven't they? And then they've just dropped that one little nugget there that is down to you as the reader to pick up on to figure the crime out. And as you say, I mean, when only then, Matt, as you did it, I was like, yes, I've realised straight away when you mentioned the motorbike. But I don't remember back in the day. In fact, and it is interesting, some of you asking the question, I don't know if it's because I wanted it to be him, but I seem to remember that I thought it was going to be Kenny Logan's father, actually. So,
Is that because you had a bad experience with an estate agent at the age of 10?
No, do you know what it actually was? Because I don't know why. Kenny Logan was one of my favourite players, so I didn't want him to go and work for his dad's firm. I wanted him to stay as a centre forward.
He was great, yeah. I mean, we're all suckers for like the youngster coming in, weren't we? Because we were kids ourselves, weren't we? So this is why we've always loved the Jimmy Grants and all those kind of, Andy Steele and stuff like that. I know, yeah. So yeah,
it's fantastic. As is the tangent, so obviously I've managed to pull it out. So that's the David Stew, that's Mr. Gangster Brinsden, who's relieved that Trevor Brinsden fights another day to disrupt Roy Race in a different way, I'm sure of it. But so it's number 220, and it is dirty dealing. And it is quite obviously Mr. Skew, and it's quite, as you say, on the advertising hoardings there. He's done quite well there. He's actually written DC Thompson, if you can see on that one.
He's do anything to get more money, won't he?
It's he's not a fool as our David, is he?
Did you do the cover? The cover doesn't look like he's.
No.
Is it like an Ian Kennedy?
Often the covers were different. I mean, and talking about covers as well, when we showed the cover earlier on of that last United story, one thing I found amazing, I don't ever remember this before, that was art onto a photograph. There were real players behind. Let me see if I can dig it out.
I think the last couple were, was
If it just quickly, hopefully everybody can see this.
It's also
sorry, just for listeners. Sorry, bear with us here. Obviously, if you get a chance to look on the YouTube,
so that looks like an Ian Kennedy, the United player anyway. That looks like an Ian Kennedy.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, that's brilliant. It's brilliant artwork. But so you've got, I think it is Tricker Smart.
It's from Rags to Riches. The front bit. That's originally Rags to Riches. Yeah, the first Tricker Smart story.
But he's he's got on the ball and he's dribbling. There's someone going in for a tackle, but the person going in for the tackle, that's definitely a photo. And in the background, there's another player from the opposition running, and that is it's the artwork is imposed onto a photograph background.
That's really good.
I don't ever remember that.
No, I think that's a first cover because it's a wraparound as well. On the forward, it's the same picture all the way around. And then that Football Picture Story Monthly logo is complete, whereas for all the other ones, it's further on the left. Yeah. So it's quite unique, that front cover. Although I'm not that familiar with the very last one, 418. Maybe they did something the same.
You're right. Actually, they did the last two.
Yeah, they're like wraparound covers.
The last two I stopped sharing on that, and I'll just hold up to the camera. So this is obviously 417, and you're right, I'd forgotten that. So actually, the last two, because normally on the back page you had a picture of a story, a picture of a footballer.
Yeah.
Right. And as you say, on that one is the wraparound cover, and then the last story, 418. Which I always found this interesting, because on the cover was Alex Hedgehog Jones, but it's not a We Are United story.
No,
it's just a generic like football comic story about the history of football. But you're right, that's a wraparound cover as well.
Yeah, I've never actually held it 418. I haven't got that one.
Sorry.
Show off. Any excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're both wraparound covers for the last episodes, right? Okay. Oh, there you go. Quite unique items then. Even more collectible.
I tell you what, I've got to say, I do apologise to the listeners. We are a podcast, but the knowledge of the team has to be explored. And there you go. As Ridders said, so edition 53, Rags to Riches, and that is Tricker Smart. And there's no doubt about it. It is that picture of Tricker Smart that has then been imposed onto the cover of 417.
Yeah, that's his introduction, that one. That's the first Tricker Smart story we get, where he's at the Beachfield Barons.
That is
a cracking book, that one. That's a really good story.
Let's see if I can.
Yeah, that's what we sort of see a lot about Tricker Smart's background story.
I covered that one, didn't I? think.
Yeah.
I think we've done that one.
I think we've done that twice.
Yeah, it's a amazing story.
There they are, side by side.
The one made in a goal scoring competition.
Oh, the Golden Boys, is it? Something like that. Bygone. Yeah, that's it. Sandro Malini. I think he's battling with.
Well, brilliant stuff. Thank you, Matt, bringing us there. I can't say the word. Is it a Dumont? As all the suspects gathered for Roy to,
Don't know that word. What's that mean, Paul?
It's when Sherlock Holmes or the protagonist, the detective, brings all the suspects into the room and he talks about how he's found out and he grills them, and then the big reveal, the Dumont.
Oh, very good.
Obviously,
good
Roy did that. So thanks for bringing that to us. Sorry.
If it was more modern, I wonder if they'd have done an unusual suspects kind of lineup.
Oh yeah, for the front cover, had all the people on. Yeah, that would be good. With like the heights in the background.
Yeah, that would have
been a good cover. That, yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if we could AI it.
Right. Anyway, over to our last feature. Come on then, Bygone. And you've got your magical boots with you.
Yeah, so recently I've been purchasing a few Tiger holiday specials and a couple of Scorcher holiday and a summer special that I've added to my collection. But this is the first time I've read through the Tiger holiday special from 1985, and it's a cracking little read. And I'd like to read this on my summer holidays, and I might just keep the rest of it for when I do go away later in the year. The first story to feature in this holiday special is the one I'm going to cover tonight, and it's Billy's Boots, and it's a really short and snappy story for Billy. Seeing as though he was one of the main characters in Tiger at the time, because I think at the time it was just merged into Eagle already, and he was just about to enter into Roy the Rovers. It's only a 3-page story. It's a really, really short story, but it's a cracking little story, and it's just a typical Billy Boots story for the summer. He's going on holiday with his friend Jimmy Dawson, and they're going on a boating holiday. Jimmy's mum and dad's must have rented, or they own a nice little boat that they're going to be going on, like a canal trip. And as the story starts, it looks like a fantastic little boat, like easily
quite a big boat, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, easily sleep 4 people and maybe a small child. It just says on there. Jimmy's just saying to Billy, "Reckon you'll like a boating holiday, Billy. We come last year and it's a great travelling along the rivers." And Billy says, "Yeah, it's going to be it's going to be super, and it's a smashing boat too." And it makes a change for Billy because usually his holidays, he went to Holland quite a lot on football competitions and different things like that. So on this one, I mean, I like the character Jimmy Dawson. I thought he was a great footballer as well. And he was constant as well in the storylines. He was always there. Whenever he went to different schools, he was always seems to travel with him to the schools. So anyway, in the evening, they're in bed and Billy says the only thing that's wrong with a boating holiday is that there's nowhere to play football. And Jimmy's smugly laying back in bed going, "That's where you're wrong, and you'll find out tomorrow." So the next day, Jimmy's having to go on the boat, and his dad's saying to him, "Stay to the left fork, Jimmy." And Jimmy says, "The thing about a boating holiday, Billy, is that you don't stay in one place. You can go all over the show, especially where the footer pitches are." And he says, "I see what you mean, smashing." And just to the left of the boat, it looks like there's like a village green football match going on, and there's some kids having a knockabout. And Billy says, "Do you reckon we'll get a game?" And he says, Jimmy says, "A couple of teams play here every year, and they've never got enough players." So as they go over to the match that's taking place, there's a lad there, and he just says, "It's nice to see you again, Jimmy. Are you fit to play tomorrow? Who's your friend?" And he says, "He's called Billy Dane, and he'll play as well." And he says, "Billy's the greatest. He's a fantastic player, and he's really magic in front of goal." And Billy's all shy, and he's just like, "Leave it out, Jimmy. I'm not that good." And the lad says, "If you're half as good as Jimmy says, you've got to be better than the most of us." So it looks like Billy's got a game. So on the next page, we just see that the match is taking place on a Saturday, and they're getting changed in the changing rooms. And then the lad says to him, "We've got all the strikers we need. Would you mind playing in midfield?" And Billy's like, "It suits me. I'm glad to play anyway." So the game is the Boaters versus Hotel Residents. So as the game gets underway, it's like plain shirts versus stripes, and Jimmy's playing a great game, and he's really running with the ball, and everyone's encouraging him, and he's like, push it through to your forwards. So Billy gets the ball and he plays it on through, and he sets up the number 9, but the number 9 skies the ball, and Billy's like, you should have kept it low. So as the game goes on, Billy and Jimmy are working hard, and it looks like they've got a good relationship together. Billy nods it down to Jimmy, and the strikers he's saying, get the ball forward. So they strike again, and then the Bolters have another chance, but the number 9 just misses it again. He's like 5 minutes too late to a cross, and Jimmy Dawson just says he's miles too slow starting off on that run. And then just before half time, another high ball goes into the box, and again the number 9 heads it wide. He's missing a boatload of chances. Yeah, pun intended.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, and Billy Dane says he should have tried to nod back to us and give us a chance. And Jimmy Dawson's like, we're unmarked. So at half
They
time,
should just float it over, shouldn't they?
yeah, they should. Yeah,
Float it over. Like water.
And then it would be plain sailing.
Yeah.
I better carry on, otherwise the ship's going to sail when we're going to sink without trace.
Yeah.
Trust me, you already have.
And that was the end of the story, and we can just... So at half time, they're all discussing this number 9's inability to score, and Jimmy just says, why don't you try Billy? He's a striker, that's his usual position. And the number 9 just says, don't mind, I'm playing like an idiot, I'll drop out. And he says, okay, then we'll make a change. So in the next scene, Billy's wearing the number 9 shirt, which I don't know why he had to swap the shirt numbers, because it must all be sweaty and stuff, that shirt. But anyway, he swapped shirts, and he's having a right rough time against the centre-back. And he's like, this is why the number 9 didn't do that well. The centre-back's a right thumper. But anyway, Billy gets away and he gets a chance. And the goalie makes a magnificent save. And he says, at least the crowd are watching and going, at least this kid's on target. And they're saying, it's going to be 0-0. The Bolters can't score. But then near the end, Jimmy gets the ball and he's running and he's ploughing through the midfield. And Billy feels that old tingling sensation in his feet. And he says, something's going to happen. Deadshot boots are going to make him run onto this. Anyway, Jimmy takes the ball, runs through, hits the ball, and it looks like it's going to go in, but it hits the post, rebounds out, and following up is Billy. And he's like, typically, this is why the old boots made me run, to set me up for this. I'd never have got here in time otherwise. And after the game, all the team are there with Billy, and they all seem happy that they've won. And they just stood by the river, and they just said, just one thing, Billy, I didn't tell you. Anyone who scores for the Bolters side gets thrown into the river. And he went, thrown in? Oh, no. So that's the next thing you know, he's been thrown into the river and they dunked him in. And the number 9 who was playing says, I'm glad I didn't score. And he says, Billy, if you'd have scored twice, you'd have gone in twice. And then Billy's just in there enjoying the river, and he just says, at least I'm not getting my old boots wet. So that's something. And that's where the story ends there. And I think it's a really neat little story, to be honest, for a summer special.
It's great. I just realised if people are watching this on YouTube, I've got pages 4 and 5 the wrong way around.
Oh,
so
sorry,
Randy. I was just trying to figure that out, actually.
It's my fault. But you know, these are brilliant. I love them. They're so it's got so much in it. It's short, so much in it, and it's a lovely holiday.
I think the artwork makes a difference, because obviously he's one of my favourite artists. And you know, every scene is so detailed. But yeah, I just like the fact that he gets dunked, and I just keep thinking, if they'd have won 9 or 10-0, every player's got to be dunked in the river. But yeah, I think for a little self-contained story, you get a lot of information in it. You know, like you get to see Jimmy on his boating holiday. They have a little practice, and his boots work for him at the end as well, which I think is great.
Well, it's just the fact that also, you know, we would have been, well, this is 1984, so we would have been 10, 11, 12, that sort of age, and you're going on your holidays, but he's going on his holiday as well, you know, and it's
I used to like that about holiday specials, though. I used to get a lot of like the Beano and, you know, summer special, and whenever you read their stories, it was always the Bash Street Kids that go on holiday, or Dennis the Mexican. And I like, you know, you want to be taken out of the story sometimes, don't you? Like Roy Melchester had be on a trip to Greece or wherever, wouldn't they, and things like that, discovering some waiter or something like that. So yeah, it's a good story. Yeah, I like it. But yeah, that's it. That's my little feature for this week. Bit of a break from the from the Kevin Kline and Powell stories, which I'll feature next time.
Wow, Bygone, I've got to say, I didn't think you had it in you. Short and sweet. Certainly not the kind of feature that I'd have been able to deliver.
You'd have still been on the first page.
I certainly would. I mean, so yeah, fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I must admit, actually, I'm trying to think. Not many stories in the summer specials would have been so short, just 3 pages. I thought most of them were more than
for
that.
their main character as well.
Yeah.
I'm just flicking through it now. It contains, like, there's some reprinted stories. Skid Stolo's got a reprinted story that's 8 or 9 pages long. I'm gonna have a proper read through this, and anyway. But I have got I've just, as an interesting one, I did purchase a Scorcher holiday special as well, from the 1977, I think it is. And I can't show the screen because I've not got a picture of it. But in this one, it's got Billy's, and I did send it to you, Matt. It's got Billy's boots, and it's drawn by a completely different artist that I've never seen draw Billy before. Did I not send it?
Yeah,
to
no,
you?
I think we think it's Tony Harding. Looks like Tony Harding's artwork, because I've never
That's
seen.
right.
I've never seen Billy's boots drawn by Tony Harding. So it's interesting. I was reading a book actually by John Sanders, who was Barry Tomlinson's boss, and he's talking about annuals and it's fascinating, just the kind of the commercials behind it. And he's talking about the fact that 20% of an annual typically, or holiday special, will be reprints. And he's saying if they didn't do that, they wouldn't have made money as actual annuals. So, you're talking about the holiday special there, and that's trimmed it down to just 3 pages of John Gillett's work. Yeah, because they would have had to pay John Gillett for that work. I know it's obvious stuff, but they would have had to. And then the rest of it is all made up of old Skid Solo.
Yeah.
And it's just what they had to do, just kind of, he was talking about the fact that, David said before that they weren't paid, were they, for repeats or secondary publications. And he was saying how critical it was, though, because the margins were so tight that if they did pay them, or they had to get new work, then all this stuff wouldn't have made profit. And let's face it, they wouldn't have made them. They wouldn't have made these annuals or holiday specials.
I mean, to me, I didn't mind if it was I mean, I think there's one of the Royal Rovers, and they did a Joral's Palace reprint, and it was like more or less the whole comic, I think, and I loved that because that introduced me to Joral's Palace, because I hadn't read the earlier issues that the storyline originally featured in. So I didn't mind that, but it must be for people who did collect the comics and then they got the holiday special eagerly awaited, and then you just discovered it was a reprint. It must have been. But for other people like who were going on holiday, that might be their introduction to Royal Rovers, and then they buy it. So
it
does have its value, doesn't it?
That's great little story.
Yeah. So for everybody who just tunes in just to listen to myself, I'm sorry it was only 3 pages, but the next.
More Berrigan next time.
Yeah, sorry, listeners, you've had to listen to the rest of us.
There'll be a petition now.
Well, yeah, exactly.
There'll be a petition. More Bygone. More
Bygone. More Grandad Gangster.
I was just gonna say, people just sit there trying to work out my accent.
Well, we never know what accent we're going to get from one pod to the next. East End Gangster.
I'm gonna get one for Billy. I think I'll get.
Was it Italian?
Yeah, you should do one. You should do your Parlo Certi. Yeah, you should do what you should do. Definitely get an accent for Billy. We should make it a rule now. If we're going to do stuff, we should do the accents. You've got to do the accents.
Oh, that's it. My feature days are over.
I wonder if Roy sounds like think him out of Crossroads. What was he called?
Benny.
Benny out of Crossroads. Midland.
It's not the sound I have in my mind for Roy Race. I've got to give you that. But
Mr. Young.
You can forget it now. I'm not doing Josh T. We'll get cancelled.
I was more worried about your Terry Evans, but anyway.
Yeah, that's why I steer clear of Vic. Yeah.
Do can I just ask? And this might be something that the readers might comment on on social media. When you read a comic, I don't know if it's been asked for. Do you do it in different accents, or do you just read it? Does anybody make an accent for the person?
I just read it.
You just read it.
I read the comics just straight, but if I read a quote, like somebody put something on Facebook or whatever, and it's a quote that I've heard from somebody else, I do tend to read that in my own head in the accent of the person that actually made the quote.
Get you? Yeah.
Right.
If you see something like Oh,
You
I
do.
only
You
said,
really seem to do
I
the
said to
voices.
only blow the bloody doors off. You know what I mean? If he's something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's just perception, like if you hear somebody on a podcast and all you hear is like people listening would have had ideas before we put this on YouTube, they would have already formed an idea of what we all look like. And then when it went onto
of course you
YouTube,
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
to actually think, God, Neil looks more beautiful on YouTube than he does on a podcast or vice versa.
Yeah.
It's keep it real. Let's keep it real.
We don't always give all the feedback, and that's one of the reasons, Neil, because that has not been the feedback we've got. That's not been the feedback we've got. But there
pages
you go.
of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And so Melvin's musings would go on for an entire pod if we was to read that stuff out.
No, but I was like, Terry Evans, is Terry Evans Welsh? When you read, because he's from Welsh in the comics, do you read it in a Welsh accent or do you just read it? Is just what I'm trying to get at.
No, I understand. I mean, I have to be honest, I do just read it. I haven't,
Yeah,
I
I
must
just
admit, I
read
don't
it,
think
yeah.
I've ever done the voices. But then probably because I can't do accents and impressions and things like that, I can imagine somebody like Goals probably got Hedgehog Holmes Jones as Ronnie Corbett, and I dread to think, Frank Carson as Johnny King and goodness knows what. But there you go.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I think it's been a fantastic pod, and it's about that time. Social media, gents. Who should I be turning to? Or should I do the Facebook groups? There's no volunteers. Right. Well, I think it's worthwhile mentioning this first one on Facebook. The Champ, We Are United, and Football Picture Story monthly fans, and a special mention as today's feature from Ridders United, We Are Back. That's where you will see the links to those continuation stories that Ridders has been delighting us with. And spoiler alert, you might find out about that United Melchester Rovers result before we feature it on a future pod.
Possibly. Yeah, do you know what? I'll put a fresh link on there the next couple of days, just to.
Yeah,
you'll have to release a spoilers-free version, Ridders.
Yes, exactly.
A little trailer.
And then on Facebook, we've got the fantastic Roy the Rovers comic 40 years on, in brackets Melchester Rovers, brought to you by the wonderful friend of the show, Ed Taylor. Then there's also the Mighty World of British Comics. And for some reason, I'm not seeing it. There it is. And of course, then there's Striker World as well, which of course features Nick Jarvis and the wonderful incarnation of Pete Nash. So those are all the great Facebook pages that we're aligned to. Matt.
Hello.
Blue Sky, X, Twitter. I have no idea what it's called anymore. That's why I'm handing over to you.
No, it's fine. I've got this. Okay, do Blue Sky first. I don't post that much on Blue Sky. I should do more so. And I will do. So we're on Blue Sky, and it's at champcomics.bsky.social. So that's at champcomics.bsky.social. And we're on X, and it's at champ_R, at champ_RARE.
Fantastic. And just to make sure that our founding member is still listening and he listens to the entire show, I will mention the forum, but I get the complaint that he left it at the end. Of course, how our wonderful pod started, the Pro Balls Champ, weareunited.proboards.com, and a new in-house joke. There's over 50,000 posts, and of those 55,000 posts, 49,000 were done by Goal. We're missing you, Goal. Right,
it's
then.
Definitely worth mentioning, Paul, while you're there, about the forum. You want to check out the fan fiction with what we've been doing with Ridders. There is quite a few fan fictions in there that are definitely worth a look at.
Yeah, definitely. Good one. Voice of reason there, hammering home at the end,
link.
As always. Fantastic. Yep. That's great stuff. And I believe you've got some fan fiction up there. Is that right, Simo?
I think most of us have, to be fair. I think there's a few kicking around. I think Rabbi's got a couple kicking around in there. There's probably more than I that I can think of at this moment.
Bringing the game into disrepute is all I'm going to say. Some insider dealing. I know that Rab and Goal did some weird transfer dealing across their fan fiction.
Yes.
I believe UEFA and FIFA are still investigating, but read it before it's forced to be taken down from the forum. That's all I will say. Right, gents, I think we're coming to the end. It's been, as I say, a great show. Come on then, Ridders. Back in the hot seat, back with a feature, back into the realm. How have you found it?
Yeah, been great. Yeah, thanks. Just chatting with the boys, talking about United. What's not to like? It's been great to be back on. Hope the listeners have enjoyed it, and see you next time. And stay safe and eat well.
And you know what? That's why we've missed him, because none of us come up with nuggets like that. And that's more from Luscious Locks in 103.
It's like the Green Cross Code man now. Isn't it?
Dear.
Oh, there you go.
Simo.
Yes. Yeah, another mad episode. It's crazy, but it's good. And hopefully you will all be back to listen to us ramble on some more next time. Great to have you and Ridders back. It's not the same without you.
Oh, cheers.
Thanks, Simon.
Bygone. I'm sorry. I just haven't got the time to go through your 54 million nicknames. So bygone.
It's all right. No, again, I've really enjoyed tonight. It's been great. I enjoyed the Who Shot Roy story. Enjoyed Ridders talking about his fan fiction. Yeah, it's been a really good show. Thanks for hosting Tangent One. The only wise words I've got to say is just, eat regularly and exercise.
Say your prayers and take your vitamins.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Just watch out, we're having a cold snap soon, so just keep going.
Oh, dear. I really hope the listeners aren't coming to our pod for that kind of information or advice. But anyway, it's appreciated, gents.
This is good. Some lifestyle advice. This is a new little section we have at the end. Very good.
So, Matt, I'm guessing over to you. I'm guessing your lifestyle advice is don't get shot like Roy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no. It's great show. Really enjoyed it. Great features. Well hosted, Paul. And remember, clunk click with every trip.
Thanks, gents. Do you know something? I am not going to be able to top any of those. I am just going to say, obviously, we will be back with episode 103 and a couple of tasters that will be coming your way. Goal will be featuring the Playmaker and the Hot Shot Annual, and we're not sure, it's to be confirmed, potentially 103 or 104. Ian Goulden is going to take us through the United verse and a history of United, and we're really looking forward to that. Well, there you go. 102 is done, and it's a goodbye from all of us, and we'll see you in episode 103. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
I forgot to wave.